Hey garden friends, I'm Nikki from Proven Winners Direct. Happy Labor Day. I know to many people Labor Day means that summer is over, but to us gardeners it's just a new opportunity to plant. I love planting in the fall. The soil is still plenty warm enough. The increased rain allows your roots to get established before winter, and the cooler temps means no heat stress upon planting. So it's a great time, and what greater time to take advantage of 35% off our Plant of the Day plants. I have 7 new annuals, perennials, and shrubs for you this week. We'll get to those in just a minute. I just wanted to say thank you to all of our garden friends that attended our signature garden event last week. It was beyond my wildest imagination. It was wonderful to meet you all face to face. Thank you so much for the support that you continue to show us. Thank you for being here and enjoying this amazing space, my happy place, and we can't wait for next year. All right, without further ado, I've got 7 new plants, all 35% off. I'm going to show you all of them today. If there's more than one that you love and have to add to your garden, you can purchase as many as you want today from noon until 4. Otherwise, each day will feature a new plant at 35% off. If you haven't already, please give us a like and subscribe. It helps our channel so much and we will love you forever. We make it super easy for you to shop all of these plants featured in our video. There's direct links to the product pages below in the description. And without further ado, let's get to the pretties. Our first plant of the day is this beauty right here behind me, Super Bell's Watermelon Punch. This is a great color for your fall combinations. I love pairing all of the Super Bell Punch series together. They're just really pretty colors. And I love that they have the dark center and like a yellow eye. So it kind of takes your eye everywhere with it. And like most Super Bells, the punches, they are covered in blooms. They are very long lasting. So if you're just planting annuals now and transitioning your containers, you can bet that these are going to last well through fall. When I've done annuals in the fall here in Michigan, most of mine have lasted through like mid-November. So they're a lot harder than you think. But Super Bells are grown best in containers. So obviously in a hanging basket or in a combo pot. They don't like having wet feet. So when they're in the ground and if you get an excessive amount of rain, it's going to get too much water and they're going to get very wilty and unhappy. So keep them in containers. They love to be fed. Don't be afraid to keep feeding your annuals right now. I know we're going into fall and the season is kind of winding down, but they are built to last. They will last. So keep feeding, keep watering. As the temperatures cool, you won't have to water as much, which is one of my favorite things about fall. And this is a great plant to start with, Super Bell's Watermelon Punch. Next up, we have Super Bell's Double Vintage Coral. This is a new 2024 variety and becoming one of my favorites. It has an amazing color that will last any season. I planted it in a mono container, so I just have the Double Vintage Coral in a mono container and it's about this size. As you can tell, this one is kind of getting ready for another flush. There's a ton of new buds getting ready to open up and it's carpeted with these magnificent corally, pink, maroony blooms. I love it. And it's a double. I always love a double bloom. Super Bells are great in part to full sun. Mine, when I plant them, as I mentioned with watermelon, it's going to last you well into the fall. And this is such a great color. It'll go with your oranges and your yellows and your reds. It's just a true beauty and I'm so excited about it being a new variety. Double Vintage Coral Super Bells. Next up, we have the Primo Black Pearl Huka, also known as Coral Bells. These are an easy way to add a pop of color to any space because they grow in both sun and shade. It's got this magnificent glossy black foliage with some rosy purple undertones, super good for fall. What I love doing with my Hukas in the fall is I plant them up in a combination for my porch or patio, and then you can transplant into the ground after you're ready to pull everything for winter. So it gives you that great Halloween-y look if you're looking for that type of feel for your fall combinations. But Hukas are just super easy to grow. This one will also have this beautiful shoots of white dainty blooms. Gorgeous, gorgeous, really anywhere in the landscape. Obviously you want to keep them more towards the front. They only get to be about foot tall and about 1.5 to 2 feet wide in a spread. So they stay nice and dense and compact, really super easy to throw anywhere. The hummingbirds and the bees and the butterflies flock to these in droves. It's one of my favorite things about it. Primo Black Pearl Huka. Next up, we have the Magic Show Ever After Veronica, and that's this cutie right here that you see in the ground. Now these guys are kind of on their way out for the blooms. You can see some of that beautiful lavender color. It's kind of a good mix. It gets lighter, so it kind of can take on a pink hue, purple hue, both. I love our Veronicas. I've grown many different varieties before, and these Magic Shows definitely last longest for the blooms. So really, I wanted you to be able to see what this is going to look like and then kind of how to care for it when it gets to this point. You can see these spikes. Those were the blooms. Just trim them up. You don't have to cut it all the way back. You can kind of just deadhead those spent blooms whenever you're ready. I mean, this still adds great texture and movement to the space. I usually don't trim mine back until, you know, closer to winter. But if you don't like this look, you totally can. So they came out of their flush. They are so long blooming. Mine typically start, I would say, very early summer, almost late spring. And as you can see, they last well through the full summer. So it's just one of those really nice and hardy perennials. It's great for the front of a border in your beds. You can plant it in part to full sun. It's hardy in zones 4 through 8, so it's got a really nice span of heat and cold tolerance. And it's deer resistant, which is a huge plus. And the bees and the butterflies just flock to it. Gorgeous perennial, Magic Show Ever After. Next up, we have the Reminiscent Crema Rose. This is a newer Reminiscent Rose to our catalog. It's got this most amazing, big, full cream bloom. Not necessarily white, not necessarily yellow, kind of perfectly in the middle of those two, but it's got a high petal count, so it's nice and full. And like all Proven Winners roses, you can't beat the disease resistance. They are literally bred for years and years and years, and they try to give them diseases when they're in their trials. They water at midnight. They take all of the conditions that would breed disease and they give it to the roses, and they only pick the ones that don't get it. So you know that you've got a winner in these. But aside from their magnificent full blooms, they grow to be about 3 feet tall and 2 feet wide, so they've got a nice clean habit. Obviously plant them in full sun, just like most roses. These guys are great in the middle of your bed, or if you're one that likes to grow as many roses as you can, it'll fit in with just about anything because of that magnificent color. Reminiscent Crema Rose. Next up, we have the Let's Dance Sky View Hydrangea. This is actually Proven Winners National Hydrangea of the Year, so you know it's a good one. These are hardy in zones 4 all the way to 9 warm climate friends. I know you love to hear it. These have these magnificent mop head blooms. It will depend on the acidity of your soil if they stay blue or transition to white, but no matter which way you grow it, it's going to be stunning. It blooms on new and old wood, so you are going to be able to rely on this for yearly consistent blooms, no matter if you grow it in Michigan or Florida. It grows about 2 to 3 feet tall and 2 to 4 feet wide, so it's going to be a bit wider than it is tall. It's going to be a beautiful hedge if you have space to make a hedge of these. You cannot beat those amazing blooms, and you don't have to worry about them because it blooms on new and old wood. So you're never sacrificing blooms when you're giving it that light trim. These have a nice tidy habit, so you're not going to have to really do any type of hard pruning, which I love. The less work, the better. But it's just a magnificent hydrangea. I really encourage you to give it a try. Let's Dance Sky View. Next up, we have the Bloomerang Dark Purple. This is a spring and summertime favorite. It's a great time to get these guys in the ground. Obviously, they're beyond their last flush, but there are 2 things that make me love these more than the traditional lilac shrubs. And the first thing is that it re-blooms. So you have that amazing spring flush that we all can't wait for, and then it'll bloom again in the summer. The second flush is not going to be as substantial as the first, but you will still smell that lovely smell. The second thing that I like more about the Bloomerangs is that they stay nice and compact and tidy. They only get about 4 to 6 feet tall and wide, so it has a really great rounded habit, super easy to care for. They're hardy in zones 3 through 7. Obviously plant them in full sun. And one other special note about lilacs is they don't like wet feet. So make sure that you're not planting them in a water area or near a water feature. They like to stay a little bit on the dry side. But it's a magnificent shrub. Plant it now so that you'll be ready for spring in those amazing lilac blooms. Bloomerang dark purple. That wraps up another week of Plant of the Day. I hope you learned something new or found something new to love. Lots of goodies this week. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you have a great week and we'll see you next Monday. Happy planting.